So I want Devin to ask the question.
Well, I don't have a question. I have more of a statement.
Sure. Statement, comment. We forgot something, and he just privately told me, "I forgot something."
It's totally fine. So I was just looking at, okay, since Mark Giordano was selected, who will be within the realm of in that top four? You do have a Valimaki who's coming off a year that wasn't the best. You have a Rasmus Anderson who hopefully can take a step within this next year. And obviously you have your quote unquote top line or top defensive pairing of Tanev and Hanifin. I was looking at the potential UFAs for the defensive core here that Brad Treliving could be and should be, in my mind, having talks with. So you have Brandon Montour. He's 26 years old. He played just over 20 minutes on average time on ice. And as of right now, his projected salary for next year from Evolving Hockey, which is very they're kind of coming onto the scene right now in predicting what these contracts are going to be. They have him at a 1 year at a $3.85 million salary. I love the guy. He's been bouncing around a little bit. He was drafted by Anaheim, got shipped over to Buffalo, and then shipped down to Florida this year. So I want him to be within the talks. And surprisingly enough, I want another Buffalo guy, Jake McCabe, to be within that realm of possibility. 27 years old, just over 19 minutes average time on ice this year. Shoots left. And right now they're projecting him to be a $1.75 million for 1 year. Last year, his last contract was a 2 year, $2.85 million salary. So he only played 13 games this year. But within those 13 games, his analytics were through the roof, especially playing with Rasmus Ristolainen. He wasn't able to thrive as much as he could have with a different defensive pairing. But the analytics say that with him paired with Ristolainen, that even him putting up those numbers and those statistics were ridiculous. So he's a solid stay-at-home defenseman. He did, like I said, he only played 13 games. He tore his, like myself, ACL, MCL, and meniscus in his right knee. So it depends on how good he's going to be coming off that injury. But those are the two UFAs that I'm really looking forward and hoping that Brad Treliving kind of makes a move for here in the offseason to kind of replace that top four without stretching out and probably over with Valimaki, you want him to be playing a bit less minutes right now. And I don't think that Daryl Sutter is a big fan of Valimaki as of right now, but you really just want to make sure that you're not overstretching and hindering the development of a Valimaki, considering how highly touted he is. So those are my two, Brandon Montour and Jake McCabe, to be kind of off-season targets for the Flames and Brad Treliving.
I like the Jake McCabe one. I'm just going to toss his name in there. The former Canuck. There is some sense to it. Alex Edler. I do think that there will at least be. What's that?
Pull up the comment.
What comment? Oh,
my dad.
I think it makes sense with if the price is right. If I'm Brad Treliving, the guy I'm eyeing right now is Ryan Murray. He is a guy who I think is perfect for what he would be asked to do in Calgary. Being a left shot guy, he's someone I want the Canucks to be looking at for a very similar role. Someone who can play second pair minutes. He's 27 years old. He's not going to bring a lot of offense, but he's going to be a good steadying force. And if you need someone to, especially for the Flames, if you're going to need someone to do that, so you can release Rasmus Anderson into a more offensive role, because you need him to take that next step, and to bring in someone who has a little more who's a better skater than and a little more wheels than what Gio has at this point in his career. I think Ryan Murray would be the guy I would be eyeing, and for that same reason is why I would be very, very wary of Jake McCabe because of that knee injury.
Well, the other thing is too, my concern with some of these UFAs is age-wise. There's a lot on the north side of 30 that it concerns me a little bit. So I do wonder if they research that trade route. Devin, you talked on Sunday about the idea of bringing Travis Konecny over in a deal. There's a couple of like a Travis, if you can get a Travis Sanheim in or a Shea Gostisbehere on that left side. I think those are a couple of guys that I wouldn't mind seeing the Flames.
I'll say this right now: they aren't trading Travis Sanheim.
No,
Gostisbehere potentially, but Sanheim's going nowhere.
Depends on who you're bringing back and whether or not they like where they're sitting at within their development. I agree. Sanheim is I don't think anybody's off the table, man. Like you can't say no just for the fact of the name that's being thrown out there. It really depends on whether or not you think the GM of Philadelphia thinks that the return is good enough for Sanheim and Travis Konecny. Granted, Sean, you are correct. It's going to take a hell of a lot to get him out of there.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm saying is he's not going anywhere without a massive overpayment.
Yeah.
And I just want to respond to my dad real quick. As much as I understand your bias, they're not going to go for another 35-plus player after they just lost a 35-plus player.
Depends. I disagree. I think
disagree a little bit too.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance. It just depends on the term and how much you're paying them.
Yeah,
I think Edler would probably want too much for what he's going to give at this point in his career. But that's just my personal take.
I think there's going to be a lot of teams in on Edler.
I think the Oilers will still be there. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't rule the Kraken out of this conversation yet either.
I don't see the Oilers in on Edler. They've got their veteran left side defenseman in Keith now, and they've got some younger defensemen that like Lagesson. They've got a couple others too that I think they're going to want to try and continue to develop. They're not going. I know you want them to continue to add 35 plus 38 plus defensemen there, Kev, but I don't see the fit in Edmonton.
Well, Dallas too. Yeah. Sorry,
they just lost Alexiak. I think Dallas is a fit.
Yep. And the other thing with the Flames, 1 week from now is the Johnny Gaudreau trade modified. That's when his no trade clause moves in here. So either they need to sign
5-team list.
Yeah. Either he needs the Flames either need to sign Johnny Gaudreau by the 28th or they have to decide that they're going to move on from him or he has a 5-team no move clause. A 5-team clause. Yeah, sorry, I'm stumbling right now.
No, and I'm cutting you off too, so that doesn't help either. I still think that if they don't sign him before then, I think that there still is a chance that they do re-sign him. It's just you're putting a lot of it's within the player's hands now whether or not he wants to resign. I know that sounds ridiculous, but he was very upset and very vocal about how people like Eric Francis talking about how he's going to be, if he doesn't resign right now, he's gone. I still think that he has a love for this team. And I still think that he has a love for this city. If he doesn't resign, I'm not 100% on board with him wanting to leave. But you are right, Kev, that it does dwindle in percentages as the year goes on, and if he doesn't sign within the next week, the percentages go down. But I'm not going to put it at a 0%.
The other thing I'll say is that the Flames just lost their captain, but they also came off a very, very disappointing season, and I think they still have to make a big move, a big addition to this roster, a big change to this roster as well. And on top of the losing Gio in the expansion draft. So I think there has to be a move here coming before the before UFA starts. And I agree with Devin. I don't think Gaudreau is that player right now. I think it is coming down to Monahan, but it's going to be one of those two. In my opinion, even if I am leaning towards Monahan at this point.
So it's an addition by subtraction, is what you're saying.
Well, I think they need to add. I think they need to make a hockey trade and make a big shakeup with it, another big shakeup in that room. They can't just say, "Oh, the captain's gone because of the expansion draft." I think there's a lot of ways you can sort of think of that. Oh, well, it's just the expansion draft. Like they're just protecting the Anderson, Tanev, and Hannafin, and they had to expose a player, and they didn't want to give up assets to protect them. You can talk your way into it where it's not necessarily a big shakeup. I still think they need to make a big trade.
Yeah, and you're not. This is if you're going to get anything for Johnny, this would be the time to make the trade. That's all I'm saying. This, like, in terms of peak, this is it. I guess the question.
Yeah, yes and no. Okay.
But Devin, if you're down to a five teams Johnny's choice, like, look what happened with Ryan. Like, look what happened with any situation that the player has got the team by the balls. You're not going to get a good trade.
My counteraction to that, because I do agree to a certain extent, it's whether or not, okay, so trade deadline comes up and Calgary is not in it, but Johnny's played well. You'll still get a good damn trade. And Johnny, you could sell it that Johnny's going to go to a team that is a contender, that he could have a shot at the cup. And you're like that. That is usually when the asking is a lot more than what you're actually going to be getting. And yes, it depends on whether or not Johnny wants to go, but I feel like he is one of those players that really wants to win, and he has 1 year left. This is his last year. Why not roll the dice and, first of all, help the team out that came out and pursued you. Craig Conway went to his house in over on the Eastern Seaboard, and I feel like there's a lot of moving parts within it. But as a surface kind of look at it, you kind of are right. But I feel like there's more to it than just that.
Fair.